Welcome! Hello! Happy Sunday morning! It is I, your host, Pogo Kiddo, with yet another amazing episode of Redstone Lapis Lazuli. Hello! Yes, there I am. Hello, hi, welcome. Let me make this a little bit bigger for a second. All right, back to game. Yo, here I am. Happy Sunday morning. I am indeed going. I'm going. It's going. It's on. So, you know what? For a long time, I was feeling real bad that no matter what, uh, I would I would I would stream for 3.5 years or whatever. I've been doing this for 3.5 years, and I always look and like there's no one watching me, and I'm like, man, that makes me sad. And then I found out it's because uh, the bandwidth is too high. Like what I upload at like 500 or like 5 megabits or whatever, 5 megabits a second. But there's something called transcoding, which means like Google will take my information and then on the fly will compress it more and then send it out again so that people watching the stream don't have to download the full amount of data that I'm sending. They get a compressed version that Google sends, which is great if you're a partner with Google or with Twitch, but I'm not. I'm just a little guy. So like no one's watching what I'm doing, which means they're not transcoding my stuff, which means it's impossible for regular people to watch my show live because it's not transcoded. So, you know, so that's why people don't watch my show live because it's not possible. It's just not possible. So, there's that one. Number two, I moved my world from the Minecraft realms onto my local machine, and I was able to increase the render distance, and that makes all the difference. Look at this jungle. That's what I'm saying, right? It looks like a proper jungle now. Like one might be able to appreciate just how difficult it is to maneuver. Oh, there's a little way out. There's a way out. But yeah, this is like solid jungle, and it's difficult to maneuver through, being jungle and everything. But you would not be able to appreciate it on realms because it doesn't have the view distance. So if I'm on my local machine, which I am now, I kind of dig it. No, I missed. Okay, try this again. Oh. Yeah, it's kind of hard to land on that little tiny thing. Ooh, I did it. Ha 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 ha. Okay. So there's that one. So now I'm playing on my local machine, and I dig it because I can see farther. And that's nice, right? Ooh, look at that. Oh. Okay. What else is going on? This is the last show, I think, like this, with vanilla graphics, because I was able to procure a brand new video card, a 30 series NVIDIA video card with RTX, with ray tracing. So I'll be able to use ray tracing in Minecraft now, which is amazing because I've been waiting to do that forever. But let me tell you how difficult it was to get a hold of that card. My goodness. I swear, I felt like, okay, so one of the very, very first MMORPGs to come out was a game called EverQuest. Uh, and and this game was ridiculous. I mean, it was basically like, I don't know, it's like World of Warcraft, but before World of Warcraft. And to get items, like it didn't just like there wasn't a very good looting system. So in order to get an item, there was only one item to get. It's whoever got him got it, and the mob that the monster that had the item that you wanted would only spawn once every 30 minutes. So you had an entire server of people all camping in the same spot, waiting, like arranging a line to wait your turn to kill the monster to loot the item. And it would take hours. It took hours and hours and hours to do this. It was silly. It was like the lamest thing ever. And then, so getting my video card was kind of like the same thing. It took me a month and a half of sitting in a YouTube channel with a bunch of nerds, computer nerds like me, who were all very frustrated. So when you have a bunch of frustrated computer nerds sitting in a chat room together, they start becoming very toxic. And yeah, the situation is very, very, very frustrating because if all you want to do is get a video card to make a computer, like you can't do it. Why? Because Bitcoin miners are buying up all the cards, all the video cards to mine Bitcoin, which is like the stupidest thing ever. Because Bitcoin doesn't generate wealth. The only thing Bitcoin does is transfer wealth. That's why people who are invested in Bitcoin are always trying to get other people to put money into it. So their Bitcoin is worth more. But it's nothing. It's like literally nothing. It's just a coin. It's not really worth anything. It's just a way of transferring wealth. It is not wealth itself. And people don't understand that. So we have companies spending thousands of dollars to snap up all of the video cards to go run them in China nonstop using cheap coal electricity to get like points for a video game, basically. Oh, it's so stupid. But I got a video card. And so what that means, look at that Enderman who just leaves stuff there. So what that means is next week I'm going to get this video card and I'm going to be able to like see some neat graphics. Ah, didn't make it. No. Which means I probably should, and then the other thing that's happening is that Minecraft is going to update soon. So I don't really want to make a new world. Because I'm going to have to like remake the world anyways to get all the new content. All right. So I talked enough for like the first like what? 10 minutes? Not even that long. It doesn't tell me how long I've been going. Average stream health. Okay. So, what's been going on in the world? Let's look. Birds of a feather. So you know that there's been a conflict in Israel and Palestine, in the Middle East. Oh wait, sorry. I have to undelete something that I deleted, and now I can't. I bet you I can't find it. View, details, by date, sort by date deleted. There we go. It'd be at the top. Oh no, view, large icons. There we go. That's the one I want. Here, you come over here. Where'd it go? Oh, it changed while I was holding it. Oh no, it didn't. It went. Where'd it go? I lost it. I put it on my desktop and it disappeared. Oh, okay. Well, I was going to show you a map of Israel and Palestine. But it disappeared. Sort by date. Yeah, okay. And then I put it on the desktop. I put it right there. And then it went poof into the nothing. Not in the. It's not deleted. It's not on my desktop. It just went poof. And now I can't find it. That's awful. It went poof. Well, I was going to show you this map of Israel and Palestine, but my computer made it disappear. Let me try it again. This is important that people see this. Microsoft Edge. Okay. Okay, and then it's not showing up here. So let me tell Microsoft Edge. There we go. Hey, there's a great map. So this used to all be Palestine. But the Israelis have taken bits and bits and bits, and look at how little they have left. Only the blue left. The Israelis have taken everything else. So they're settlers. The settlers have invaded and have taken all the land from the people that live there. Kind of like how the Europeans invaded North America and took all the land from the natives there. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Europeans showed up in Palestine and started to attack the native people that live there and took their land. It's the same thing that's going on right now. So if you understand that, then we can start looking at, well, who are the Israeli settlers that are attacking Palestine? Who are these people? And let me show you some of their symbols. They use this as their symbol. Oh, wow, that looks familiar. Dude, zombies everywhere. What the hell? Sleep. Okay. So this symbol looks familiar, right? Geez, where have I seen this before? This kind of thing. Where have I seen that before? Oh, yeah, the terrorist group, the Nazis here in the United States. The Nazis use it. The Nazis do it. The Nazis use it in here. They belong to the white supremacist, the Aryan nation. So what they're talking about patriots here, they're talking about the Aryan nation patriots, the Confederacy. They're not Americans. These guys are enemies of the United States. You see, enemies of the United States, oath keepers. They're sworn to attack the United States. These guys are the enemies of the United States. Yep, enemies of the United States. They're not American patriots. That's why this thing's broken. They're fucked in the head, right? They're Nazis. They don't know what the hell's going on. So they're attacking the United States, but they call themselves Americans. So I don't understand what's going on. But yeah, the thing is that the same group, it's the same group, right? It's the same group. Birds of a feather flock together. Birds of a feather flock together. If this group is a Nazi group, if this is a Nazi, then you can be pretty sure these guys are Nazis. It's easy. It's easy. Birds of a feather flock together. Remember, fascism isn't a thing, an object. It doesn't live here in this plane of existence, right? You and I, us humans, we have a component, a material component that exists here in the material realm that we can all observe through with our five senses. Fascism doesn't have that. Fascism doesn't live here in the material world. It does not live here. It lives somewhere else, right? You have the material world, and here's a barrier, right? Over here is material, and over here is nothing, right? They're ideas. You can use your mind to see the ideas, but there's no thing attached to it. It's just an idea. Fascism lives over here. It can't come over here to the material world side, right? But what it does, though, is it projects. It uses a human to come into the world. The human has to use their body to manifest the idea of fascism and bring it into the material world. And that human is located in a particular place, in 3D. They're not just floating human. They're a human made of material in a particular place and time. That means not all humans are going to manifest fascism the same way. A human manifesting fascism in the United States is going to look like an oath keeper. It's going to look like a Proud Boy. That's a Nazi. That's a fascist. But that's what it looks like when an American manifests it. When a German manifests the fascism, it looks like a Nazi. And when an Israeli manifests fascism, it looks like Zionism. Zionism is the belief that God gave this piece of earth to these people, and it is the divine order of the way things should be. So if you try to overturn it, you are going against God's will. That's what they believe. It's the same belief system as the Nazis over here in the United States, who believe that God gave a divine order of white man on top, and if you try to change it, then you are fighting God's order. Nah, see, that's bullshit. But it's the same idea. It's the same idea. That's why I'm able to go look over there and go like, oh, yep, I can see you guys. I see you Nazis. I see you Nazis. You Israeli Nazis. I see you. Because that's what they're doing. They're doing ethnic cleansing, genocide. Same thing. Same thing as the Nazis. Same thing as the Americans, as the Confederates. Well, not even the Confederates. It was the Americans that did it. That did the genocide against the Native Americans. It wasn't the Confederates. That was Americans that did that. It was the American government that did the genocide against the Native Americans. So yeah, I can't even get away with it and call it the Confederates. It's mine, right? It's mine. So yeah, I can recognize it, right? I've seen it. And that's what the Israelis are doing. The Israeli Nazis are doing to Palestine. They're doing ethnic cleansing. They're no better than the Nazis. No better than the Confederate traitors here in the United States who want to overthrow our government. They're all on the same page. Why do you think things blew up over in Israel, Palestine? Why? Because when Trump was in office, he sent the boy wonder, Jared Kushner, to go mess things up. Kushner unilaterally decided that Israel could have Jerusalem. Just unilaterally, just decided. Go ahead. The Trump administration ignored years and decades and decades and decades of negotiations ahead of time and just unilaterally did stuff. But so basically what they did is they set up a bomb for the Biden administration because they knew that this was going to blow up. That's why they did it. That's the whole reason why Trump moved the embassy over to Jerusalem, is because he knew it would blow up. Well, he was, because Trump was on board with ethnic cleansing. Look what he did. He helped coronavirus spread because he thought it would only kill poor people. Donald Trump is a Nazi, is a fascist. They're all birds of a feather. So here, check this out. This is interesting. I thought this was an interesting thing. All right. Do you plan to take a coronavirus vaccine if it becomes available? Refined by party, Democrat. So the Democrats, what do they think? What does that look like? So we have this timeline of the date, and then we have how many people respond yes, and then we have like up here different moments. So in the beginning, back in January, like for a long time before, yeah, sure, Democrats, most of them would have taken the vaccine before it was available. And a lot of people are like, I don't know. But when the vaccines began, there was a big jump in people that said, yep, I'll take it. And as they took it, the green arrow went up. The green line went up to say, yes, I've already taken it, to 82%. And only 4% of Democrats plan never, ever to take it. And 3% are not sure if they'll ever take it by this point, right? 4% of Democrats are like, I don't know if I should take the vaccine. Okay, let's contrast that. Let's contrast that with Republicans. This is the same thing, but now it's Republicans. So in the beginning, a minority said they would take the vaccine. A minority said, well, less than a majority said they would take the vaccine. All right. When it came out, it jumped to almost 50%, but then fell below. So the majority of Republicans are not interested in taking the vaccine. And yep, that's the way it's hardening. You're about 50% of Republicans are not sure if they're going to take the vaccine or not going to take the vaccine. When you get to older people, plus age 65 and Republican, yeah, there's a few older Republicans that take the vaccine because they don't want to die, but there's like almost a third of the older Republicans who will not take the vaccine. So what does that mean? That means these are boomers. So their parents were the greatest generation. Their parents went through polio and smallpox. Their parents took the vaccine, and they were so good at it that they eradicated smallpox, so that smallpox is gone. So that now we don't have smallpox anymore. No one needs to take a smallpox vaccine anymore because it's gone, right? That's how awesome the greatest generation was. And that's how awesome they were. But their children, the children of the greatest generation that eradicated smallpox through vaccines, right? The children come forth, and the children of the boomers say, I see you, my parents. You use the vaccine to defeat disease, but I hate you. I love disease. That's what the boomers say. That's what Republican boomers say. The Republican boomers say, no, we're going to keep the COVID forever. So yeah, let's look at that, right? With about half of Republicans never ever taking the vaccine, that means COVID will never go away, which means we can never not take the vaccine. Like, we could do it with smallpox because Americans were able to all take the vaccine and eradicate smallpox. But this time, the children of the boomers, well, not even the boomers, because that's not fair, right? Look at here. Not even the boomers. It's just the Republicans, the Nazis. The Nazis are like, no. We don't want to eradicate COVID. We want to spread it forever. The greatest generation could eradicate smallpox, but Republicans are not that good. They're not as good as the greatest generation. I'm sorry, right? There's just no way around it. The greatest generation was so great they could eradicate smallpox, but Republicans just aren't that good. They just aren't that smart. I can't help it, dudes. I can't. What do you want me to do? The greatest generation could eradicate smallpox, but their children were too stupid to stop COVID. It makes sense though, right? Who are the people that are stopping us from eradicating COVID? Republicans. Who are the Republicans? Nazis. It makes sense that the Nazis would undo the work of the greatest generation, right? The greatest generation fought the Nazis. Who are the Republicans? The Nazis. It makes sense. It makes sense. Can't beat COVID because Republicans. Republicans are Nazis. We can't beat COVID because of the Nazis. The Nazis are using COVID to attack Americans. American Nazis use COVID to attack Americans. American patriots. Yeah, cheap coffee. If we are to have another contest in the near future of our national existence, I predict that the dividing line will not be Masons and Dixons, but between patriotism and intelligence on one side, and superstition, ambition, and ignorance on the other. All right. So on one side, you have people who take COVID seriously and take the vaccine and don't believe the lies. And on the other side, you have people who are fascists, who believe in superstition, ambition, and ignorance. And Ulysses S. Grant, the president, he was general during the Civil War, predicted that the next time we have a civil war, it will be between patriots who are smart and Nazis who are stupid. And that's where we're at right now. Oh yeah. Isn't it funny how we went from, oh yeah, we really need you frontline workers, to saying, why doesn't anyone want to work for us? They didn't get any hazard pay. They didn't get anything, any benefits. They got nothing. They had to work through a pandemic. You made them work through a pandemic, and you didn't give them anything for it. And then when they're saying, well, forget this, give us more money, you get mad at them for it. See, it's so... What else do I got here? Don't forget that Republicans canceled the only woman in House GOP leadership, Liz Cheney, for speaking her truth, but kept silent about these two of their men accused of sexual predation and lies by women and girls. So Madison Cawthorn and Matt Gaetz. So Matt Gaetz is still in the Republican Party, still a ranking member, still like doing great in the Republicans, even though he's in big trouble for raping underage children. Republicans don't mind because Republicans are Nazis. Remember? Yeah, Donald Trump tried to murder the entire line of succession. Remember, during this attack, he wanted to kill Mike Pence, Nancy Pelosi, and the Patrick Leahy. I think one of the oldest senators. Like the whole line. He was hoping to kill the whole line of secession and take over and become dictator of America. Donald Trump and the Republicans. Yep. That's why I keep saying Donald Trump's a Nazi. It's an ongoing insurrection. The Nazis are trying to overthrow our government. You have to understand that. It's like, don't sugarcoat it. Don't downplay it. The Nazis are trying to overthrow our government. So look, there was this guy right here. Look how bad it is. Because like, the problem with Nazis is that they have to like absolutely debase themselves for Donald Trump. They have to show that they will repeat whatever nonsense that Donald Trump wants them to repeat. And they will never, ever waver from it. So here, we're going to watch right here. So there's a simple question. Do you think Biden was lawfully elected president of the United States? And then this Republican said, so do you think Biden was lawfully elected president of the United States? So obviously, no. Do you think Biden was lawfully elected president of the United States? Yes or no? Yes or no? Biden lawfully elected or not lawfully elected? Biden lawfully elected or not lawfully elected? So what is lawfully elected, not lawfully elected? He says, I mean, obviously the law was followed. Now, the law wasn't followed in a lot of states, but ultimately in this the process took place. You know, the Electoral College voted and the House accepted the results. I mean, not everyone, you know, there were objections, but the votes were cast, and in Congress, you fight by voting. The votes were called, and he got the votes. Do you think Biden was lawfully elected president of the United States? He didn't answer. He didn't answer. Because he's a Nazi. He's trying to overthrow the government. I forget who this is by. But this is why you never ever argue with Nazis. Why it's stupid and pointless to debate with Nazis. Because Nazis don't ever talk to you in good faith. Like, if you go into an argument knowing that you're fighting a Nazi and you know that they're not going to talk to you in good faith, you can turn that against them. Yeah, okay, sure. But if you're not aware of it and you go in with good faith, thinking that a Nazi will retain the good faith, you're a fool. Nazis will take advantage of you every time. Because that's their whole point. They don't care. Never believe that anti-Semites are completely unaware of the absurdity of their replies. They know that their remarks are frivolous, open to challenge. But they are amusing themselves, trolling. For it is their adversary who is obliged to use words responsibly, since he believes in those words. The anti-Semites have the right to play. They even like to play with discourse, for by giving ridiculous reasons, they discredit the seriousness of their interlocutors. They delight in acting in bad faith, since they seek not to persuade by sound argument, but to intimidate and disconcert. If you press them too closely, they will abruptly fall silent, loftily indicating by some phrase that the time for argument is past. Cancel culture, cancel culture. I'm being censored. It is not that they are afraid of being convinced. They fear only to appear ridiculous or to appear prejudiced by their embarrassment, their hope of winning over some third person to their side. So they don't care. They don't care. They're just there to troll. So there's like liberals like believe in the marketplace of ideas that you can win people over. Like if you give people enough choices of ideas, they're able to figure out which ideas are good and which ideas are bad, and then get rid of the bad ideas. That's what liberals believe. So liberals believe you can ferret out bad ideas by out-arguing them. That only works if the person with whom you're arguing is doing so in good faith, that they have an open mind and that they're using reason to arrive at truth. That the goal of both people is to arrive at truth. But the Nazi, that is never the goal of the Nazi. The goal of the Nazi is always to take power. So when the Nazi talks to you, it's never to arrive at truth, it's to find some way to take your power. That's all the Nazi wants to do. That's why they troll, to take your power. That's it. That's it. It's never ever to expose truth. It's either to push more Nazi or to take your power. That's the only reason. They use the word in bad faith. Don't argue or fight with the pathological liar. It is not worth your energy to argue with someone who lives in a fantasy or psychologically unstable world. Most liars lack an identity and struggle with feelings of insecurity and abandonment. Other pathological liars are simply sociopathic and overly confident. Either way, don't argue or get into a confrontation with the liar, because they will use circular arguing, demean you, and possibly create more lies to use in the future, possibly against you. You will never get to the truth, even with the use of intimidation. In some cases, you might get only half of the truth. It's best to step back, work around the pathological liar, and keeping a safe distance. Nazis are the enemy of truth, so they are pathological liars. There's no point in talking to a Nazi. They just lie. They lie all the time. Like, I was in that nerd chat, and I was calling out the Nazis who were all saying, like, obviously Nazi stuff. And then the Nazi turned around and said, oh, yeah, I have a screenshot of you saying Nazi stuff, Pogo Kiddo. And I'm like, go for it, dude. Post it. I didn't even, like, why even talk to them? Because they're lying. It doesn't matter what they'll say. They're just trying to get power. They don't care about truth. That's what makes them so dangerous, because they're enemies of truth. And truth is an aspect of God. That makes them enemies of God. What you need to understand is that Israel has always offered Palestinians exactly two options: slow, inexorable displacement, or horrific violence. The displacement occurs by wall building, land confiscation, settlement expansion, permit denial, eviction, bulldozing, movement restriction, and overall relegation to second-class citizens. Kind of like Jim Crow, right? See, this all comes back to the United States, because Germany got their stuff from the Nazis got their stuff from the Confederates, and Israel's doing the same thing. That's why it's our responsibility, because look what we've done. The displacement doesn't often make headlines, but it is deliberate Israeli strategy that is just as destructive in the long run. And if it provokes an angry response from the Palestinians, that gives a pretext for Israel to drop bombs on civilians. That is also deliberate. Look at Gaza, right? Israel just like ethnically cleansed Jerusalem. So people were protesting. So Israel used the protests as an excuse to murder a bunch of civilians in Gaza. Israel's a Nazi country. That's a Nazi country. That's a Nazi regime. They're Nazis. Benjamin Netanyahu is a Nazi. He broke all the laws in Israel, but the Israeli state democracy is too weak. Because Israel doesn't really follow rule of law, they're not able to get rid of Netanyahu. So they don't respect human rights. If they don't respect human rights, they're kind of the enemy of the United States. Here's a poem. Running Orders by Lena Khalaf Tufaha. They call us now, before they drop the bombs. The phone rings, and someone who knows my first name calls and says in perfect Arabic, "This is David." And in my stupor of sonic booms and glass-shattering symphonies still smashing around my head, I think, do I know any Davids in Gaza? They called us now to say, run. You have 58 seconds from the end of this message. Your house is next. They think of it as some kind of wartime courtesy. It doesn't matter that there is nowhere to run to. It doesn't matter that the borders are closed and your papers are worthless and mark you only for a life sentence in this prison by the sea, and the alleyways are narrow and there are more human lives packed one against the other more than any other place on earth. Just run. We aren't trying to kill you. It doesn't matter that you can't call us back to tell us the people we claim to want aren't in your house. That there's no one here except for you and your children who were cheering for Argentina, sharing the last loaf of bread this week, counting candles left in case the power goes out. It doesn't matter that you have children. You live in the wrong place. And now, it is your chance to run to nowhere. It doesn't matter that the 58 seconds isn't long enough to find your wedding album, or your son's favorite blanket, or your daughter's almost completed college application, or your shoes, or to gather everyone in the house. It doesn't matter what you had planned. It doesn't matter who you are. Prove you're human. Prove you stand on two legs. Run. We are responsible. Kamala Harris tells Netanyahu, "Go ahead, dude. Go ahead." She blocked the U.S. blocked the probe into war crimes by this criminal. This guy is a criminal, big time. But the Israeli system is too weak to purge itself of criminals. So that's why there are all these war crimes going on. Because the Israeli state is not strong enough to purge itself of criminals and reestablish rule of law. It's been taken over by Nazis. This guy's a Nazi. This guy's a Nazi. He's a Nazi. Benjamin Netanyahu, Nazi. Now you got to remember, birds of a feather flock together. Birds of a feather flock together. Birds of a feather flock together. So, supporters of Rep. Mike Neerman gathered outside of the Marion County Circuit Court Annex ahead of Neerman's arraignment on Tuesday, May 11th, 2021. This guy right here. Mike Neerman, he's the guy who, remember, like, at the same time that the Capitol riots were going on, a bunch of Nazis here in Oregon tried to do the same thing to Oregon State Legislature. And the cops barricaded the doors to keep the rioters from getting into the state capitol, the legislature building. But this representative, Mike Neerman, he was on video. You watch him go to a side door and open the door for all the rioters. And then all the rioters, all the insurrectionists pour in, and the cops come in and try to push him back out, try to beat him back out. So, of course, Mike Neerman gets in trouble for that, and he goes to court. But he's got supporters, people who support his attempt to let the rioters overthrow the Oregon government. It was this guy. He comes out with his hand painted sign. Look at that. These two people. Why do they look so familiar, these two people? Well, wait a minute. That guy right here. This guy right here. I know him. That's him right there. And look what he said over here. He was saying that Russia is not the enemy. This guy is with Vladimir Putin. So birds of a feather flock together. It makes sense. This guy who is allies with Vladimir Putin, who wants to overthrow the United States government, who considers the United States government his enemy, is a supporter of Mike Neerman, who also tried to help Nazis overthrow the government. They're both seditionists. They're both traitors. Birds of a feather flock together. They're both traitors. And then this guy right here, that guy right there, he is also a traitor. Here, I even did that. That was my last show. Where's it at? Hold on. No. Go back further. Oh, yeah, no, that was it. Radicalization in Salem. Where's that guy? Where's that guy? Here, I gotta go like this. Boop, 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 boop. Well, here. There's those two guys again, right? There's his hand-painted signs. Oh, wait a minute. You don't see it. Oh, what happened to it? Okay, well. It doesn't work anymore. Oh, there it goes. Yeah, okay. So there's that guy, right? With his hand-painted sign saying that Russia's our friend. Let's return to the book. There's that guy again. You see? So it's not like they came out of nowhere. These guys called the cops on me, by the way. They called the cops on me because they didn't like my sign. Because they're Nazis. So it's not like these guys came out of nowhere, right? It's not like these guys have long time been traitors. For a long time, we've known they've been traitors. It's corruption. It's out in the open. It's just people don't want to admit it, that these guys are white supremacists trying to overthrow the United States government. It's pretty obvious. It's real obvious by this point. So you have to understand, that seditious conspiracy to shatter the American democratic system relied on the impermeability of the right-wing information bubble. Trump needed his supporters to believe. Donald Trump has to create this fictional world that's impermeable to other facts, right? In this fictional world, then he can create any kind of reality he wants in the mind of his followers. And so in the minds of his followers, he created a world in which, the Nazis are the good guys. That's what he did. But remember, so that creates a conundrum for us, right? For us free humans who are trying to advance the American project of multiracial democracy across the entire American continent. This creates a conundrum for us, right? Because this idea of control, the matrix is control. Control is a system. That system is our enemy. But when you're inside, you look around, what do you see? Businessmen, teachers, lawyers, carpenters, the very minds of the people we are trying to save. But until we do, these people are still a part of that system, and that makes them our enemy. You have to understand, most of these people are not ready to be unplugged, and many of them are so inured, so hopelessly dependent on the system that they will fight to protect it. Some people are so hopelessly dependent upon the matrix that they will fight to protect it. These guys are fighting to protect the matrix of control. They morphed into agents. Terrible agents, but agents nonetheless. So here's where it comes down to. Donald Trump lost the 2020 election, but he didn't want to relinquish power. So he got a Nazi mob together in D.C. on January 6, 2021, and sent them to Congress to murder Mike Pence and to stop the certification of the Democratic election. They tried to overthrow the United States. They're enemies of the United States. They're traitors. And people who support them are also traitors. The penalty for treason is death by U.S. law. So, Twitter, what is this? Twitter suspends account of Republican running to challenge Rep. Ilhan Omar. So, she got suspended because she's a Nazi. And she wanted to spread this idea that she got censored. But then, if you look over here to this Republican, I might even drive to Minnesota and vote for her early and often. So what he's saying is that he wants to commit voter fraud. This Republican is saying, I might want to drive to Minnesota and vote for a Republican early and often, many times. He wants to commit voter fraud. That's why Republicans are so crazy about voter fraud, because that's what they want to do. If they had the chance, Republicans would commit voter fraud. So they project that, assume. So Republicans assume, well, if I'm a Nazi and I would commit voter fraud if I had the chance, the Nazi assumes, well, then my enemy must think the same thing. They think Democrats would also commit voter fraud if they had the chance, because Nazis would do it if they had the chance. That's how messed up Nazis are, thinking in the head. That's why Nazis are really, really bad people. Because they think other people are just as bad as they are, which gives them a reason to be bad. They excuse their badness because they think other people are bad. So what's happened to our country? What happened? Divestment. Divestment. Think of the United States as in social debt after years of divestment in human capital, families, future productivity. Compared to our peers, the U.S. is far behind in key areas. The disinvestment starts at birth. The U.S. is the only developed nation with no universal paid maternity leave. So we'll look here, right? We got Bulgaria, Greece, United Kingdom, Slovakia, Croatia, Czech Republic, Ireland, Hungary. The average EU gets average 20 weeks of paid maternity leave. And that's the average. And then of developed nations, of all the developed nations put together, there's an average of about, 17 weeks of paternity leave. So all the developed nations put together, when you average them out, they all pay out 17 weeks of maternity leave to moms who just had a baby. The United States pays out 0. Everyone else helps out their moms, but not the United States. The United States starves its moms and children because the belief of the people of the United States is Nazi? I don't know. What's wrong with you, you idiots? What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? Look at this. You're the only one. What's wrong with you? Nazis. That's right, Nazis. Fuck. Here, take a better look, right? That's the average. That's the EU average. And here's where the United States is. We're a developing nation. We're not even cool like these guys. We're a developing nation. We're not even there yet. We're dead last. We're awful. We're awful. USA, bad. Look at that. I'm not making stuff up. I'm just looking at the truth. USA, bad. Expensive, unreliable childcare adds to pressure on families, reducing what they have to invest in kids. It pushes parents, women, out of the workforce, increasing the gender pay gap and reducing the labor force. So the way this works here, let me give the next one. The way this chart works is that, let's see. I don't understand. The circle is a couple, and the diamond is single. Is it just women? Oh, parents, or just parents. Parents using childcare. How much of, so what is, I don't understand what this is showing. The cost of childcare. So in the United States, oh, I see, okay. So the cost of childcare in the United States is one of the highest. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's in the top 10 most expensive places for childcare. And then the diamond is the cost, is how much it costs a single person. Wait, what? I don't get it. I don't understand. Never mind. I'm going to skip this one. This one here. When it comes to public spending on families, cash transfers, targeted public services, and tax code support, the U.S. has ranked close to last for almost 20 years. So we're looking at family benefits, public spending for family benefits. We're helping out the families, right? The United Kingdom spends a bunch of money helping out families. France spends a bunch of money, families. Germany, a bunch of money, family. The black line is the average. Right? The average of the developed nations, how much they spend on helping families. The United States spends almost nothing. The United States is terrible. Look how bad the United States is. Oh my gosh, what a terrible nation. By the time kids are ready for college, they face some of the highest fees in the world, undermining access and saddling graduates with unsustainable debt. So, in US dollars, okay. So in the United States, it costs a lot of money to get a bachelor's, but like the most of any of the other ones, but you get no support for it. So it's most expensive in the United States. There we go. That's what I'm going to do. Well, England's pretty expensive, right? England's pretty expensive. But the United States is also really expensive, but we get no help. Everyone else is like down here for the cost. It's like nothing. We pay ridiculous amounts. Those entering the workforce are left with little assistance. The U.S. comes last in labor marketing spending, right down here. Everyone else does better than the United States. We're last. Last. United States last. Everyone does better than we do. Divestment in the workforce is mirrored in declining relative support for research and development. The United States, over time, is going down with research and development while everyone else is going up. No wonder wealth inequality grows at alarming rates. In the USA, look at that. The share of wealth owned by the top 10% is the highest in USA, almost 80%. It's more fair in all these other countries, but the United States, it's most unfair. We have the most unfair system in the United States. Oh, we already did that one. Yep, USA is right here. We have the top 10% own 80% of the wealth. That's how bad it is here in our country. Oh no. The US boasts the 4th largest median income. It has the 31st largest middle income. So even though we have the highest of the highs, most people are really poor. We have the highest median income, but the average, most people are really, really poor. So yeah, we have really, really rich people, but most people are poor in our country. We have really, really, really rich people, but most people are poor in the United States. I mean, look, it's right here. Right, the median income is pretty high, but the share is low compared to everyone else. Middle class doesn't have that much compared to everyone else. So there's lots of room for improvement in the United States. One way of improving is to reinvest in the United States. The problem is that Nazis don't want to do that, right? They call it socialism. And by investing in the United States, that's spreading the wealth around. That's the opposite idea of what Nazis want to do. Nazis want to concentrate wealth. So by helping poor people, you spread the wealth, and Nazis don't want to do that. That's why in the United States it hasn't happened yet, because Nazis have so much power in the United States. I mean, the Nazis have so much power in the United States that they staged an insurrection and they still are sitting in Congress. They staged an insurrection and they're still in Congress. That's how much power the Nazis have in the United States. That's why we haven't implemented all of these good policies yet, because Nazis have so much power in the United States. So when we stop the Nazis and crush them, yeah, we have amazing room for growth and improvement and potential. We are going to explode in power when we get rid of the Nazis. But right now, we have one arm tied behind our back because of the Nazis. And everyone knows this comes down to passing the Voting Rights Act. But Joe Manchin and the Republicans are stopping it. So Joe Manchin is killing time. Joe Manchin is helping the Republicans by killing time. The Democrats have a trifecta of government power. And Joe Manchin wants to stop that. He wants to help the Republicans come back into the fold. So the Nazis. Joe Manchin wants to help the Nazis and Kristen Sinema. They want to help the Nazis come back, because Joe Manchin knows if the Democrats push out the Nazis, Joe Manchin is not long for power anymore. So to keep power, Joe Manchin is going to work with the Nazis to stop the Democrats. But if we can stop Joe Manchin and the Republicans, then America can enter a golden age. We just need to stop Joe Manchin and the Republicans. And Kristen Sinema, right? Kristen Sinema, she's awesome. Here, I have a GIF. Check this out. This is Kristen Sinema. This is her voting down for minimum wage. She touched Mitch McConnell and said, "Mitch McConnell, look what I'm going to do, Mitch McConnell. I'm a Democrat. I'm with the Democrats, but look, Mitch McConnell, I'm going to vote against the Democrats. Don't you love me, Mitch McConnell?" So Kristen Sinema is with Mitch McConnell to stop the Democrats, and she's helping them come back into power in 2022. So, that's why we don't have a lot of these things, because the Nazis are in power, and Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema are helping the Nazis. So, there's an insurrection, right? We're going through an insurrection, and Joe Manchin is part of that insurrection. Kristen Sinema, they're part of the insurrection. They're helping the Nazis. If you help the Nazis, that means you're part of the insurrection. I mean, we had a Nazi rally the other day in Salem. A bunch of Proud Boys walked around with guns to intimidate people. It was a Nazi rally. The Nazis are in Congress. We're unable to purge the Nazis out of our government. That's how bad it is in our country. So I don't really know what else to do other than keep protesting, keep speaking out against the Nazis, keep people aware of the racial history of the United States, that we're a nation built on slavery and genocide. Fox News is actually helping out with that a lot. Fox News is pushing critical race theory, which is super important, because that gets into the idea of Americans that race is central to the United States. Because race is central to the Nazi ideology. So if people are aware of critical race theory, they can become aware of the racial hierarchy, the racial control system of the United States. I think they're shooting themselves in the foot by spreading the word of critical race theory. I love critical race theory. It is great. So, all right, I'm out of gas for it right now. So I will catch you next week, and it'll be different. So we'll find out. Okay, America, thanks for hanging out. I will catch you next time. Peace. Pogo Kiddo out.